What's going on YouTube? This is yours truly, Dre the Plug, reporting live with some more technical heat. Make sure y'all hit that subscribe button below. Make sure y'all hit that bell below so y'all can stay notified every single time I drop new technical heat. But let's get into it, man. Let's jump right back into these interviews. I just finished a whole bunch of sponsorship product videos, so definitely go check all of those out. Some of them I never even seen in person, so I thought it was really dope. And then on top of that, also did a couple of electronic projects, so definitely go check out those previous videos I did. But now I'm about to jump right back into my interview videos where I interview different people all across the country. Let's get into it. Roll the clip.
Hey everybody, my name is Okafor. I'm here in Salt Lake City. So primarily what I do and what I'm about to tell you is a bit about my backstory and how I got to be here. So here in Utah, I'm a mechanical engineer, study design modeling. So in essence, I'm a product engineer. I try and get a product out for development. Also work in test and evaluation and, researching what's the best product we should use. But before getting into that, I want to tell you about where I came from, which is Dallas, Texas. And in getting here, I had to go through what some of us go through, which is school, universities, and some of the trials we got to go through is paying for it and all of that. So while going through school, I actually went through two schools, University of Houston and Purdue A&M University. I had two very different experiences on each one. And I felt like because of my time in each school and me going through the Purdue curriculum in chemical engineering, I had a unique perspective in what it takes to do something completely different. I went from like political science to hardcore engineering, and I was not really well prepared for those courses until I had a mind shift in terms of how I approach these courses. So that actually prompted me to write a book and hopefully to inspire people to get into careers that may not be their strong suit, but they feel like they have a knack for it. So I feel like it was a gut intuition in going into chemical engineering. And in that way, I also went into other careers like in NASA, Lockheed Martin, and Northrop Grumman along my way here. And each one never felt overwhelming. I always felt like they gave you enough coursework and assignments to keep you like entertained and keep you busy. But I felt like the hardest decision of my life was probably making a decision on trying to switch my majors way back when I was trying to start Purdue. And so this book kind of outlines what I went through. It's called Little Victories. It's on Amazon. It outlines what I went through in terms of finding money to find financial aids, winning scholarships, starting a business, opening up doors I never was told I could do, and trying to make sure I was a good fit for it. So a lot of it just tells you that I was no better off than anyone else starting off something new, and probably even worse. But it's supposed to be an inspirational book that people can check out, read, and find some sort of like new direction when they're trying to start something new.
Okay, Fred, so what made you take the route of jumping into chemical engineering?
I started chemical engineering really because my first internship, my boss there, he was a lawyer, he told me a long story that kind of motivated me to go down this path, and where he wanted to do engineering. He became a lawyer, which is a great profession. Don't get me wrong, it's great. But he always thought that, hey, I should be doing this. I really want to do that. And honestly, going to engineering, I didn't know which one to pick. I just knew that each one had their own caveats and degree of difficulty. But really, that internship I went through with that lawyer, he kind of inspired me to pick chemical engineering, because he thought that had the most unknown variables you need to solve, but also keeping rooted down to the calculus and physics that you need to solve all of them. He felt like once you know your bread and butter, you can do just about anything. And so I don't know, it was kind of like a mindset from that lawyer that kind of told me that should be the one I should go with, and I don't regret it. But it was very challenging. You had to do a bunch of biochemistry, organic chemistry 1 and 2, physical chemistry, and then of course your generic thermodynamics and material science, and the whole entire array of engineering courses really just challenged me thoroughly, and I felt like any of them would have done that. But I think that's also what I needed in my life as well, was to show my capabilities. I thought I could do engineering, and I did. And I think it was really like a testing stone, like a testing my limits on what I can do.
Okay, so what's something that you did not expect jumping into engineering?
Something I didn't expect in chemical engineering when I started was actually time management, which is obviously goes without saying for any discipline. We all need it, but I didn't manage my time to the I don't know, the accuracy to where I was efficient to my own liking. I realized little things such as, let's just say you're trying to submit an assignment and you have an hour left, and then the system crashes. Every now and then your teacher might say, oh, okay, yeah, it's okay. You don't have to turn in that assignment because everyone's, system crashed and couldn't upload it. But some teachers won't be like that. You gotta be like, oh, you don't get a second chance. So, I always say my life philosophy is make life simple. So if you can make it simple, be on time. That's like the simplest thing you can do. But it did not come as easy for me starting engineering. I felt like time management was like probably 1/3 of the fight in terms of making sure that I got through that degree.
So what do you feel is the biggest benefit when it comes down to chemical engineering?
The biggest benefit in chemical engineering or engineering in general is probably just working with people in teams. I think you find a lot of like-minded people in engineering, a lot of people who are creative, that come up with solutions that you may have never thought of in your whole life. And so I feel like whenever engineers work in teams, you become so much more productive, especially small teams that are highly motivated. You can get a lot done. I'm always a strong believer in two heads are better than one. So I believe that the biggest benefits working in those teams and also collaborating with those people, they can most, like 90% of what I've learned and even just the industry has come through my coworkers because of just exchange and comments, meeting them in the coffee room and talking about, hey, man, how'd you get this going for this model or something like that. That information, you just can't find it anywhere else. And sometimes you can only find it, within your peers, passing it around. So again, biggest benefit in chemical engineering or engineering in general, working with others and collaborating on a high level.
You say you have a lot of experience when it comes down to, getting scholarships in college, which is crucial. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
Hey, Andre, yeah, I can elaborate on that. So going through college, I went to 2 universities for undergrad, and the biggest crunch is going to be finances. So of course, getting a scholarship, a grant, or something that can help save you on the cost of going to school is going to help you tremendously. So when I first got to Prairie View, I was really broke. So I needed a way to catch up on finances and pay for all the tuition, the books and everything. And then I looked at the price and the mounting costs going up as I continued my chemical engineering degree. And I knew this was not going to end well for me. So I said, okay, I got to focus my time into scholarships and applying for them. And they're not easy to apply for. And sometimes they feel rigged because you can apply for a ton of them and get nowhere. So what I did is I looked for a big one, one that would be like, okay, well, covered expenses, but also teach me something and I'll be invested in, carry it a lot for. So the Ford Motors Scholarship, which is known as a scholarship for HBCUs. It was a national competition and the prize money was $75,000. The whole goal was to develop a sustainable solution to your environment. And so how would it impact your environment? You have to show that, and how would it actually decrease or improve people's lives? So myself and along with 3 other engineers on my team, on our school, they're also chemical engineers, we developed an app which would help people save money on their water, gas, and utility consumption. And so that idea won first place in the scholarship. But I would say that because I was completely invested, I was completely convinced I would win that competition, and I said I would have to win no matter what, I kind of always knew I'd win it. And so I think you have to have an investment in one particular scholarship. Don't just go for a small one. Go for one that you say you feel committed to and you want to go all the way through. Because even if you don't go all the way, you're going to learn enough to where the next time you do something like that, you will. So I would say that the tough scholarships are actually the ones that are going to be the better investment for you. I would say that's going to be something that in my book I wrote for Little Victories, it will start to delve into why taking the easy route in life isn't going to benefit you in the long term.
All right, Fred. So you mentioned that you have a lengthy resume. So let's touch on like the different jobs that you've been to, and also tell me what was your favorite one.
Yeah, good question. So I'll start with NASA. That was my first job, and working there, I worked as an intern, and it was more like an environmental engineer. I studied the greenhouse gas effects along the Los Angeles basin in that area. And to be honest, right off the bat, that one was probably the most fun, and it was probably my favorite just because I didn't expect any of that. They gave you immense responsibility and they had high expectations for you. And coming off the bat, it made you really think, okay, how far can I go? How far can I go with these assignments? So, we did a lot of data gathering, flying on different planes. And it was just a completely different experience I would ever expect, especially for my first time with NASA. Going on, I would go into Lockheed Martin in Dallas, Texas. There, that was my first job in actually being a lead and commanding a lot of procedures and requirements and getting things done on time. So again, time management was paramount. You had to make sure that things were getting done on time. It was an exciting job at Lockheed Martin. You traveled a lot, you go around the world, and you work on innovation and things that need to be fixed. So that gave me a lot of just travel experience and meeting up with different people. I've always been kind of like within the country, the United States, before that time. So it really opened me up to the rest of the world, starting that job in Dallas. And then I went into Colorado. That's why I got my second job with Lockheed Martin, but this time as a mechanical engineer. And so this was a huge shift for me. I started working more into CAD, computer aided design. So I worked in Creo, and also drafting up statements of works and requirements. And so all of that contributed to the developing my base as a worker, which led me to Northrop Grumman, where I was more of a, miniature leader in terms of getting a small team to work under a subsystem, under an umbrella, larger system. But in my current role right now, doing design and engineering, and also doing a lot of testing and trying to create those tests. So all this kind of led up to me being more genuinely involved in the process and less people trying to tell me, hey, this is how you do it. Every job I've gone through is more of what can you do for me, as the employer saying it to me, and me running as fast as I can with it. So I think these jobs really are basically for people who are creative, who want to just make change, but also make realistic change. You have to look at how were things done before you just go and change the script on a document or on a requirement. But you also want to make it improve. That's why you're there. I think every engineer in some way is an improvement engineer, because if they could do the same thing just like they did it before, then I don't think they would have thought about your resume that well. So I feel like that's where my track history has gone through, is trying to make as much of a dent or an improvement really on each business I'm in. But again, NASA was probably the most fun. It's just, you can't be, doing half your work in a plane and then, going to the beach and getting things done there. It was a great place. I mean, it's more like a vacation when NASA, but it was very demanding at the same time. So it was a good work-life balance, I would say.
All right, Fred. So what got you into your side hustle? What got you into writing your first book?
Thanks, Andre. Glad you asked that question. So this here is my first book, Little Victories, published in 2020. What really got me to write this book was actually that everyone has a story to tell. And I realized just in my time just trying to get through college, I learned so much I would not have been told by anyone else unless I experienced what I experienced then. From going from the University of Houston to peer review, going from political science to chemical engineering, I felt like there were so many things that were learned and so many paths that I kind of walked into blindly, but still succeeded. I had to share that message to other people because I knew other people were going through the same thing. With scholarships and financial aid, I had some roadblocks there, and switching to schools and taking new classes, or let's say that you couldn't sign up for a course because it was full. What do you do then? You want to extend your duration by a semester or a year. How do you overcome that? They don't teach you that in high school. And so there were just a lot of caveats that came with college that you experience firsthand, but I don't want people to come in there blindfold like I did. It just waste your time. So that was one of the major reasons coming to the book, and also my perspective. Completing Prairie View A&M University in Texas, and how it contributed to me and my career success. I thought this book would be a pivotal starting point to showing that journey, which I love reading people's journeys and how they got to places, because you find out we're a lot alike than we think, a lot more alike than we think. So that's one of the main reasons why I wrote the book. And also, in it goes about my culture, where I'm from. I'm not from Dallas, Texas, but looking at my last name, I have a Nigerian background. So I put a lot of where I came from, my heritage and my backbringings, my parents, and how they first assimilated to this country, and how it is for a lot of Nigerian-born people in America, and also immigrants from other country. I think they can relate a lot to this book, and anyone else as well. But there are definitely some hurdles to get through when it comes to achieving the American dream or anything close to that.
All right, Fred, so where can the people buy your book?
Yeah, you can find my book on Amazon. You search Fred Okafor, Little Victories, or Little Victories by Fred Okafor. I'm the author on it, and you can buy it there on Kindle, or you can also buy it as a hardcover like this. Also planning on getting it on Audible, so it's easier for people to read, maybe on a car ride or something like that, because I've heard some recommendation for Audible. So that's where you can get it, Amazon for now.
Okay, Fred, so if it's somebody out there that want to get some insight on writing their own book, what's your contact information so they can, reach out to you and you can plug them in and kind of just show them the ropes?
Good question, man. You can contact me on my email. I'm always on it, fred.okafor@icloud.com. Or you can reach me on LinkedIn or on Instagram at uwaomahokafor. I'm always open for questions or any type of collaboration you want to do, or really, if you're really interested in starting a new book. I've definitely learned a lot of shortcuts trying to start my first one. So if you're interested in anything like that, please, I invite you to contact me. I'd like to know what you're doing too. So that'd be great.
Okay, Fred, if the viewer didn't take anything else away from this interview, what's one thing that you'll want the people to know about you specifically?
Main takeaway, if I can just tell one person one thing about myself, I would say that never give up. Stick to your faith. Whatever you believe in, God, stick to it. Stick to something. You got to be concrete in what you stand for, because you don't stand for anything, you can fall for anything. So I would say that's something you got to take to heart and die with it, because life will get tough, life will get rough, and there'll be things that you just never saw coming, hitting you from out of nowhere. But you just have to stick to your principles, stick to it to the end, and don't give up. That's really the mindset I had writing this book, because day one I felt like just stopping it is garbage, throw it away. Don't fall for that.
All right, so you touched on relocating. So what's some relocating advice that you would give to somebody, especially going to different states instead of just different cities within the same states? What's some advice that you would give to somebody when they're talking to another company, they're getting ready to go to a whole nother area, a whole nother region? What's something that you would tell them?
Another great point, Andre. So I have moved a bit in my career, going from Texas to Colorado to Utah. And something I wish I'd learned a little bit more is the relocation process. The first thing you have to learn when you relocate is how much do you need to relocate, and at what time. Timing is everything. Like if you're going to relocate in 6 months, you got plenty of time to look at where you want to live, how you want to go about commuting, if you need a rental car, if you need a temporary home. All these things are costs you got to be thinking about. Or it may be cheaper to actually do it yourself in terms of relocating. You might want to pack everything in, get your U-Haul and drive out there yourself. And it might be cheaper than spending the amount of money they might offer you up front to relocate. And sometimes you gotta look for companies that will only relocate you using their own money, which means that you have to follow their own requirements and rules in order to use the money they owe you. And sometimes you have to use your own up front, and then they repay you back at a later time, which could be months. or maybe, well, God forbid, a year, but it can take a while. So look at the repayment plan on the relocation, because it may not be as straightforward as you think. A lot of the time, the company will make it look like, oh, you got plenty of time to transition in. Look at what terms you're agreeing to, because even though everyone goes through relocation, if a company offers it, it can make or break the beginning of your career for that new job you're going to. So I would say highly advise it. Sometimes they give you a ton of money upfront relocation. Look at the terms. It may be where you can only use 80% of it just for plane travel. You don't even go by plane because you're maybe just a couple hours away from the site. So I mean, that's probably not it. But I'm saying that it could be, something ludicrous like that. I've gone through it. I've seen it happen. Read it, and if they offer you more relocation, read what is required before you actually bank on it, because a lot of the time they play the numbers too, and so they know what you need, sometimes more than you do. So check out the relocation plan before you actually get started on it, and don't just jump on it just because they offer you a lot of relocation money.
And that concludes this video. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. It really do help my channel when it comes down to the YouTube algorithm. If you guys have any questions regarding anything, just hit me up on Instagram, hit me up on the gram at DreDaPlug123. And then also go check out my other YouTube channel. This is actually my second channel. My first one was called Andre ClassicCuts. I basically go in and give tutorials about all types of different haircuts. I actually show people how to do different type of things with the clippers that has never been done, and I pretty much go into detail as to why certain things happen. So definitely go check out that channel. Besides that, be on the lookout for my next content that's dropping. Be on the lookout for it because it's coming real soon. And I'm out.